It starts with a scream in the dark and a girl running for her life. Not from a monster hiding under her bed or a shadow creeping down a hallway, but from something far more dangerous, a man who once promised to love her. In Come For Me, C.L. Sweet plunges us into a raw and relentless world, where desire tangles with danger and every heartbeat could be your last. This isn't just another romantic suspense. It's a story that grabs you by the throat and doesn't let go. A tale where lust and obsession blur the lines between protection and possession. Where the heroine doesn't just fight for love, she fights for survival. If you think you've read dark romance before, think again. This one breaks all the rules and drags you straight into a beautiful nightmare. Summary. Sadie thought she knew fear. She thought she had already survived the worst the world could offer. A tragic past filled with screams, behind closed doors and bruises, carefully hidden beneath long sleeves. But when she leaves her hometown to escape her abuser and start fresh in a new city, she learns that fear has levels, that monsters don't all look the same, that sometimes danger can wear a charming smile and call you beautiful. She doesn't expect to meet him so soon after. Arriving, Atlas, a stranger with haunted eyes and a past drenched in shadows. Their first encounter is accidental, an alleyway, a wrong turn, a moment that could have ended in disaster if not for him. He saves her without asking why she's running. He doesn't press for details, but from that moment on, there's something about him that draws her in. He's tall, inked, brooding, with a scarred body that tells 1,000 stories in a silence that screams louder than words ever could. Sadie finds herself living in a tiny apartment above a tattoo shop, working nights at a diner and doing everything she can to keep her head down. Atlas is always around, sometimes helping her fix a broken lock, sometimes just watching from the shadows. He doesn't say much, but his presence is loud. It's protective and possessive all at once. He's the type of man who could burn the world to the ground if you asked him to. And part of her wants to ask. Part of her wants him to destroy every piece of the man who broke her. But Atlas has his own ghosts. He isn't a savior, he's a sinner in disguise. His past is soaked in blood and betrayal. He used to run with a group that ruled the underground, like kings until betrayal tore them apart. Now he keeps his world closed off, his secrets buried. Until Sadie. Because something in her eyes reminds him of everything he's tried to forget. The pain, the loneliness, the desperate need to feel like he still has something worth protecting. Their connection starts slow, a few glances, a drink shared in silence, a touch that lingers too long. But when Sadie's past catches up to her, and the man she escaped resurfaces, with a vengeance, everything explodes. Atlas steps in without hesitation, not just as her protector, but as a man with nothing left to lose. He takes her under his wing, into his apartment, into his bed. What starts as a need to shield her turns into something darker, something deeper, and far more dangerous. Because Atlas isn't just falling for Sadie, he's becoming obsessed with her pain, with her vulnerability, with the idea that he could be the only one allowed to touch her. And Sadie isn't blind to it. She sees the way his jaw clenches when another man so much as looks her way. She feels the way his grip tightens just a second too long. But what terrifies her most isn't Atlas's darkness. It's how much she wants to dive into it. How good it feels to be claimed, to be seen, to be wanted so completely she forgets the fear. As they spiral deeper into each other, Sadie starts uncovering parts of Atlas that no one else has seen. The trauma, the betrayal, the scars that go deeper than skin. And he begins to see in her not just someone he needs to protect, but someone he needs in order to survive. She becomes his light, his anchor, the only thing keeping him tethered to whatever sliver of humanity he has left. But their fragile peace is short-lived. The man who abused Sadie isn't done with her. He begins stalking her, leaving messages, showing up at her work. And Atlas snaps. The man who once kept his rage in check now lets it pour out with fire and fury. He makes it clear that anyone who tries to hurt Sadie will meet a brutal end. And he means it. What follows is a relentless battle between the past and the present, between the man who wants to own her and the man who would destroy the world to keep her free. Sadie finds herself torn between fear and desire, caught in a whirlwind of violence and passion. Her trust issues make it hard to let Atlas in, but her heart betrays her every time he touches her. whispers to her, claims her as his. Atlas begins hunting the man who hurt her, not just to keep her safe, but because every bruise on her skin feels like a personal wound. Every tear she sheds feeds his rage. And when he finally tracks him down, it isn't justice he delivers, it's vengeance. The kind that doesn't come with handcuffs or courtroom trials. The kind that leaves blood on the walls and satisfaction in your veins. But killing the monster doesn't erase the damage. Sadie still battles her inner demons. Atlas still wrestles with the monster inside him. And just when they think they've found peace, a new threat emerges, someone from Atlas's past. A ghost that refuses to stay buried. This man knows what Atlas is capable of and threatens to use Sadie to control him. Suddenly, their fragile world shatters all over again. In the climax of the story, Sadie is kidnapped, forcing Atlas to confront every dark part of himself he tried to lock away. The rage, the violence, the killer instincts. He tears through the city like a storm, carving a path of destruction until he finds her. And when he does, it's not just a rescue, it's a reckoning. He doesn't just save her. He claims her once and for all, body and soul. But Come For Me doesn't end with perfect closure. CL. Sweet reminds us that healing is not linear, that love isn't always soft. Sometimes it's sharp. Sometimes it bleeds. Sadie still has nightmares. Atlas still wakes up in cold sweats. But they face the world together now, broken pieces fitting perfectly. A beautiful kind of ruin. What makes this book so addictive isn't just the steamy romance or the edge-of-your-seat suspense. It's the emotional depth. The way trauma is handled with brutal honesty. The way the characters are allowed to be messy, flawed, and raw. Sadie is not a damsel in distress. She is a survivor with a spine of steel. And Atlas is not your typical hero. He's the monster, who chooses to protect instead of destroy. The heat between them is explosive. The tension so thick you can feel it pulsing through every scene. Every kiss feels like a war cry. Every touch like a promise. The writing grips you by the heart and never lets go. Each chapter peels back another layer of pain, another secret, another moment that makes your breath catch. If you're looking for a dark romance that's unapologetically intense, emotionally charged and seductively dangerous, Come For Me will consume you. It's the kind of story you don't just read. You feel it in your bones, in your chest, in the pit of your stomach. It lingers long after the final page. It dares you to crave the chaos, to fall in love with the kind of man your mother warned you about, to believe that sometimes even the most broken people can be each other's salvation. And as the final lines echo in your mind, one thing becomes clear. Atlas didn't just come for Sadie, he came for vengeance, for redemption, for love, and he came to stay.